I am 78 years old. Over the last 6 decades, I have shared my home, my food, and my heart with more than 15 cats. And today I see young people making the exact same tragic, heartbreaking mistakes with their cats that I made in my youth, calling them lazy, when in reality they are quietly slipping away from something much more serious. I wish someone had told me this 40 years ago, because what I lost back then still wakes me up at night when the house is too quiet. There was one cat I still remember more clearly than most, a small gray tabby with tired eyes who used to follow me from room to room like a shadow. I thought she was calm. I thought she was well behaved. I even used to laugh and say she was too lazy to be trouble. But looking back now, that word, lazy, feels like a heavy regret sitting on my chest. Because I didn't see what was really happening until it was almost too late. It started so quietly that any ordinary person would have missed it. She began sleeping more. At first, I thought she was just becoming comfortable, aging gracefully, enjoying the softness of our home. She stopped jumping onto the higher shelves, but I told myself she was just growing out of it. She still ate, but slower. She still drank water, but less eagerly. And when I called her name, she would lift her head, slowly, as if the world itself was too heavy for her to respond quickly. I remember once sitting beside her and saying out loud, half joking, "You've become so lazy lately." I wish I could take that sentence back. There is something dangerous about love when it becomes blind to small changes. I didn't notice how she stopped greeting me at the door. I didn't notice how she began choosing colder, hidden corners to sleep in. I didn't notice how her fur lost a bit of its shine, how her eyes looked less curious and more distant. And worst of all, I didn't notice how she started isolating herself even when I was right there beside her. I still remember one evening, sitting in my old chair, watching her curled up like a forgotten piece of cloth on the sofa. Something inside me whispered that this was not normal. But I ignored it. I told myself cats are independent. Cats are mysterious. Cats rest a lot. That is what I believed. That is what I wanted to believe. And maybe that is the cruelest mistake a caregiver can make, confusing silence for peace. Then came the day everything changed. She refused to eat her favorite food. Not just once, but 2 days in a row. I remember standing in the kitchen holding her bowl, calling her softly, thinking she would come like she always did. But she didn't. She just watched me with those quiet eyes, as if she was far away, even while sitting right in front of me. That was the first time I felt a real knot of fear in my stomach. Still, I told myself, maybe she's just being picky. I wish I could tell you I acted immediately. I didn't. Another day passed, then another. And then I finally took her to the vet, thinking I was being overly cautious, even slightly embarrassed for worrying so much over what I still believed was laziness. The vet was quiet for a long time after the examination. That silence, I can still hear it today. It wasn't the silence of nothing happening. It was the silence of something already going wrong for a long time. Then the vet looked at me and said words I was not ready for, words that changed the way I have looked at every quiet cat since that day. He told me she wasn't lazy at all. She was sick, very sick. Her body had been fighting something silently for weeks, maybe longer. Her energy wasn't gone because of age or personality. It was gone because her body was struggling just to keep her alive. I remember feeling the room tilt slightly, like my chair was no longer stable beneath me. He explained it in simple terms, but those words still felt heavy. Kidney problems. Severe fatigue, a silent condition that cats are experts at hiding. Because in the wild, showing weakness means becoming a target. So even in a safe home, even with people who love them, they still carry that ancient instinct. They hide their pain so well that we mistake suffering for personality. I sat there listening, feeling something inside me break quietly, because suddenly every small memory came rushing back. The extra sleeping, the slow movements, the hiding, the lack of appetite. It was never laziness. It was never just a phase. It was a warning I failed to read. What haunts me most is how normal she tried to act even while she was fading. Cats do that. They become masters of disguise when it comes to illness. A dog might cry out. A human might complain. But a cat becomes quieter, smaller, softer, until one day they are almost gone before we even realize they were asking for help. After that day, I started noticing things I had never paid attention to before in other cats. The way they stop grooming themselves properly, the way they avoid jumping, the way they sit for long periods staring into nothing, the way they suddenly prefer isolation over company. These are not signs of laziness. They are whispers, soft, desperate whispers that most people misunderstand. I think about all the times I brushed off those signs in my younger years. How many cats did I label as old, lazy, or just different? How many of them were actually sick, waiting for me to notice sooner? That thought, it doesn't leave me in peace. My gray tabby didn't survive long after that diagnosis. Even with treatment, her body had already been fighting too hard for too long. I stayed with her during her final days, holding her as she slept more and more deeply. There is a kind of silence in those moments that no words can describe. It is not just the absence of sound, it is the presence of goodbye. I often think she forgave me before I even forgave myself. If there is one thing I have learned across all my years with cats, it is this: they will never loudly tell you when something is wrong. They will not complain in ways we expect. Instead, they will change in small, almost invisible ways. They will sleep a little more, eat a little less, move a little slower, and if you are not careful, you will call it laziness. But there is no such thing as a lazy cat in the way we often think. There are only cats who are comfortable and cats who are trying very hard to survive quietly. Now, when I look at my remaining cats, I watch them differently. I pay attention to everything: the way they walk, the way they breathe, the way they choose their sleeping spots. I do not wait for obvious signs anymore, because I have learned that by the time something becomes obvious, it may already be late. And maybe that is the real lesson I was meant to learn from her. Not to assume, not to dismiss silence, not to confuse stillness with peace. She taught me that love is not just feeding a cat or petting them when they come close. Love is noticing when they stop coming close at all. I am an old man now. I don't know how many more years I have left, but I carry her with me every day, in every quiet room, in every slow-moving shadow on the floor, in every cat that sleeps a little too long. If you are watching this and you have a cat lying beside you right now, please look at them properly. Not just with affection, but with attention. Notice them. Really notice them, because they depend on you to see what they cannot say. And if my old memories helped you today, stay with me. I may not have much time left to tell these stories, but while I am here, I want to save at least one more cat from being misunderstood the way mine was. Go to your cat right now. Put your hand on them. Feel their breath. And remind them they are not alone. And maybe, just maybe, subscribe and stay a while, because there are still things an old man like me needs to tell you before silence takes over again.